Let's see, find you a place. You're a pain. You're a pain. Come on. There we go. Good girl. Okay, hello, we are live. Oh look, I'm just trying to deal with the tangle of lights I've got here. I have to apologise, Indy is here as well. I probably picked the worst possible time for this because she's often active this time in the afternoon, which means that she wants to be involved. So, I don't know if I should actually remove this, because, or edit this out, because she's going to be getting in the way all the way through today, I suspect. But I am here to record a video and put out another little bit of work on the Moomin House, and this is a significant day. Oh, there we go. Because I am going to try and sort out the lights if I possibly can. The lights did not come with the house itself, so the house designed by D'Agostini, that's the kit I've been following, does not come with electric lights. There's a couple of lights downstairs, and then the rest of it is, one hurricane lamp. Nothing is electric, nothing looks like a lamp. But I did quite a lot of research for this. I wrote a blog post about it on the Moomin House construction diary on Substack, and what I did was spend a lot of time looking at pictures of the interior of the Moomin House and how it looked, what kind of lighting they had available. So they have no running water and no electric light. There is a whale oil lamp in the kitchen, and in the roof section, so up in the attic, there is a hurricane lamp, and I could get something that looked like that, something that looked reasonable fairly easily, and that worked on battery. But I had a lot of problems trying to find the right sized and appropriate lights and figuring out lighting systems. In the end, I went for this small British creator, LaserShrinkRay. She's based in Cambridge, and she makes these wonderful little 1/24 scale, 1/48 and 1/44 scale lights. So I went for those. You just get a kit and you put it together. She also sells these. Let me show this if I can. So there are these little kits that you can put together, and you just plug it in with a standard USB socket. So I don't really need to know everything there is to know about wiring up a doll's house. All I have to do is put the wires in the correct coloured blocks. So that was the idea. And then the next step was to kind of plan where I could put lights. and how I could do that. And I had the idea so late on in constructing the Moomin House. So when I was working on the house, I'd gotten a fair way in, and I didn't have the opportunity to do any sort of manipulation of the interior walls. There are a couple of lights that I've put on the interior walls, but they're in places where the wires won't show. So there are 3 lights already inside the house that I've got on the walls, but I do have the wires are just there. They're hidden either behind a little bit of extra wallpaper or just behind. They're going to be behind furniture, and then they kind of wire off down the side of the house. So hopefully they won't be too visible. And then I had no idea. This is the problem with doing a subscription thing like this is I had no idea what the exterior walls, the inside of the exterior walls was going to be like. And Indy is back, so we're going to have to just watch out for her all this afternoon. She's very awake. She wants to be part of it all, don't you? And I don't know how we're going to deal with you getting in the way all the time. There we are. She just wants to participate. Yeah, I know. It's lovely, isn't it? So when I finally got to the point where they were ready to send me what was going to be the interior walls, I was really pleased, because what I got for the interior walls was a piece of card. I wasn't going to have to mess around with wood, trying to put wire through wood. So the exterior walls are broken into 4 sections, 2 of which can be removed from the house at any time. And Indy is already causing trouble. It's a good thing I don't get angry easy, isn't it? Yeah, that's fine. Oh, I can glue that. Oh no, she's pulled it off. You see, this is the perils of having a cat when you do creative stuff. So I am just going to have to glue that back in quickly. Thank you, Indy. I have to keep an eye on you for the rest of the session. And I can't shut her out because she's just going to scream and scream and scream and scream. She hasn't affected the wires. I don't think I will do a check of that light. That's one of the short ones anyway. So I don't quite know where that one's going to go. So what I needed to do is plan how to put the lights in, where they would go, where the best place was for them. And then I have no idea. This is the bit that isn't going to work until I actually finish. I have no idea how I am going to get the wires once they come out. I've made sure that they're long enough. But I don't honestly know how it's going to play out precisely. I may need to get more of the connectors from LaserShrinkRay, but I really did want to record this and do a video where I just got on with putting together the upstairs and made sure that I got that right. So I'll just start with so I've got the house is here. You won't be able to see it all that well. We take off the roof. The roof I'm going to do later. It will have a more conventional light in it that's run by battery, so you can see that the inside has a frame with some cardboard supports, and the door is in. There will be a nice frame that goes on the inside of the door. Yes, not today. Thank you. Cats and creativity. That's what I should call this channel. Yeah, she's dramaing because she wants attention. So let's see. This has on it, I don't know if you can see, if I can move this camera up without making everybody sick. So you can see this has 3 rooms. So we have the kitchen, We have, this is the bathroom, and you can see there's a light there that has some wiring that I've already put in. This is the spare bedroom, which is usually where Snork Maiden sleeps, I think. It's not, obviously, there's a whole conversation to be had about the structure of the Moomin House as a representation of the physical space of the Moomin House. That is a whole technical thing, philosophical thing, theoretical thing, whether we can talk about miniatures as extensions of an original or whether they are their own thing. It's a whole conversation. For now, we are going to focus on this. This is the back external wall that you can take off. And I had decided that what I would do in the kitchen is we have one small light in the kitchen. I will just move this round so that you can see. One small, this is the oil lamp. You can see there. It is 1/12 scale, so it is slightly too big. But I found that having done a bit of work sort of studying it, it's been looking very carefully at anything that shows lights either in the Moomin House or somewhere else, so I can get that. That looks reasonable. Find Moomin Mama. There she is. There's Moomin Mama. She's quite comfortable there, so not too bad really in terms of scale. Not perfect. The reason why I didn't go for the battery lights that were too big all the way around was that I realised after I'd got one sample that they're quite overwhelming. I think one or two in an odd place is fine, but they are overwhelming for if I just put them all the way around. Plus, horrendously expensive. And one of the constraints of this project, and turn away from the mic while recording. One of the constraints of the project is obviously financial, because I can't afford to do infinite amount of things. This turned out to be the easiest thing. So what we're going to be doing to start with is this is the wall that's going to be the test run. It's the easiest one to do because it's a complete room. I don't have to deal with partial rooms, side walls, anything like that. It's just, how am I lighting these 3 spaces? I'm not going to put another light downstairs. I need to make sure that I've got the right sections. So I laid it out like this because I'm now going to, I've got Indy, she's not going to behave herself today. And as you can see, I've got hair all over the place. Cats. Yes, Indy. I'm sure you have many things to say. So that is correct. So let's put those in there. So that's the bathroom. The bathroom is already done. Thankfully, just a piece of black plastic. Cats. As I say, I can't put her outside. It's really frustrating. I knew this was going to happen. There's absolutely no way. She's got the door open. There is nothing we can do. Okay, so the next thing to talk about is the reason why I set this up. Now, I could have just put things in, the initial thought is, oh, I can just put all of this in, and there we go. To be quite careful with that arrangement. Sorry for making everyone feel ill. So the reason for not doing this piecemeal as they sent me the parts was because I needed to see the layout. The wiring has to go back behind. So I have to start at the top and work down, keeping the wiring behind and making sure that the wiring comes out in a way that works, that will fit into one or another of the connectors, and that I can find a plug and I can make it not look like there are just tons and tons of wires coming out of the Moomin House. The great thing about this system is that I can take the wires out of the connectors really easily, and once I do that, I can hide the wires so it can just look like it's not a big deal. It doesn't look obviously like there are tons and tons of red and blue wires coming out of the Moomin House. So we have 2 lights to do on the top. The lights have been done. They're very simple. I'm so relieved they didn't send me another piece of wood. I did have a comment on the YouTube channel from someone saying that their wood had warped, and I've got a similar problem, is that in places the wood warps, and one strategy is to wet the wood, I think putting it in warm water for a time and then force shaping it with weights and things like that and clips can help reset it. I'm not an expert. I wish I knew more, but I've basically been learning as I go, which was part of the reason for doing the project in the first place. So they're about the same height. So I'm going to use that. Let's take it from behind. I don't want to affect the wood too much. So if anyone watches this and you have also seen, no, I'm also measuring from the, I just would like to get it about equidistant, I think. Let's go 1 inch from the window. I think 2 inches from the window is kind of better. 1.5 inches. So there, 1.5 inches. There, okay. So I watched Severance, that I'm not caught up, but episode 8 was really interesting from well, it was interesting from a lot of perspectives, but interesting for me. Here I am, got to very, very gently pierce the card, make a very, very small hole. I feel like I'm doing Blue Peter now. For American viewers, that was a show we all used to. It's probably still, isn't it still going? So let's put that in there. Long wide. Now I need one of the long wide ones. So I've got 60 and 30. And thread them through the hole. Back to Severance. So I've been watching Severance, and episode 8, where Mrs. Cobell goes to the 9, the house where she grew up. Very interesting. Operated by the same lights are in that house. And so I spent the entire episode, I was fascinated by everything to do with the episode. I spent the entire episode watching the lights. They are very large. These are big oil lamps. They have a mirror on the back, which magnify the light, a fairly weak light. Some of these lights have been through hell and back already. I am actually super excited about this. So I spent my time watching how big are the lights, where are they put, where do they end up, where were they placed. How high on the wall are they? How effective are they as lighting systems? All that kind of really useful, interesting information. I am a watcher of backgrounds in films and television. I'm very fascinated by what goes on in the background. Okay, so that went in well. That is also one of the long ones. The one thing I kind of allowed for in painting these, because I just got some gold paint and painted them because they come black. So I just painted them so they looked brass, because they're typically made of brass. And I painted them nice to have a kind of uneven finish to the paint. A characteristic of the Moomin House is it goes through quite a lot of ordeals. So it is kind of important that that is shown in the construction of the model, that it doesn't look perfect. I went straight on there. Okay, so that's my excuse for having having house lighting that looks a little bit like it's been through the wars. Also because it has been chewed by what to these sized Moomins would be a gigantic cat. And now we come to the moment of truth. The reason why I'm doing it in sections like this, not just putting all of the lights in place and then doing the walls afterwards, is I think I'm going to learn something from the process of putting each one on the walls. So that's the point of doing it like this. So this goes center this. This sits on here. Wow, big moment. 2 lights. Let's make sure those come down, and I am going to use, I haven't used this, this is just standard crafting glue. Just have to hope that I don't have to pop the inside first. I had briefly signed up, so I thought, oh, I'll do the whole Moomin House again. We'll have 2 Moomin Houses, and I cannot afford to do 2 Moomin Houses. And I have been forced to accept the reality of the situation. That I will be only doing 1 Moomin House, at least for now. I had wanted to start again because I thought I would just record the whole process. There are people who are doing this in a much more structured way. They have these beautifully edited videos. I think that's, you know, that's wonderful if you want to do something like that. I am, aside from the fact that I'm not an editor, I don't know how to edit videos. I am also, I can't get that off. I am going to have to use a different glue. It would defeat the object to have beautifully edited videos. My interest in doing this is not about the creation of perfect media. It's about the difficulties and the trickiness of the process. So actually showing that is a really important part of what I'm doing. So this always takes me ages to open. So this kind of thing is actually part of the process. It's, you know, oh, I've got to pick the right glue, I've got to have a little fight with the glue, I want to find the right thing to put the glue on, you know. So while it's, you know, it doesn't make for super high quality YouTube videos, it's not like I'm trying to become some kind of global YouTube Moomin House making sensation. This is more sort of, I suppose the technical academic term would be a form of autoethnography. Understanding the experience of constructing a Moomin House. So this is going to take a lot more time than I thought. I'll have to think about things to babble away about while I do this. Also conscious, moment of truth is kind of a long way away at this point. It's quite thankfully, Indy has gone away. She's gone somewhere else, so I get to crack on with this without being disturbed, probably for approximately 5 minutes until she gets bored of whatever it is that she's found to go and do. Make sure that I have enough glue to hold the whole thing in place. The exciting thing is how great it's going to be to actually get this section done, because then I can put the interior frames on the walls. So all I'm doing is bending this to fit against the windows. We have to, it should be so much easier if I hadn't suddenly gone, I know, I will like the Moomin House. There's the other reason for getting this done out the way, is that Indy won't be able to chew my lighting anymore. That's going to be lovely. I'm very excited about Indy not chewing my lighting. I'll just take a drink. Briefly mention that there's an ongoing joke, and I don't know how funny, I don't know how serious the original poster was, but or which order things happened in, but this week I saw someone say, oh my god, is there I didn't realise that the British had a tea alarm at 4 o'clock, and there's been a whole funny conversation going on with lots of British people replying, going, yeah, you have to heed the British tea alarm at 4 p.m. every day. Was it 4 p.m. or 3 p.m? It should be 4 p.m. My grandfather was obsessed with the different tea times, and you had to take a break at each of the tea times. And then someone posted, I saw someone reshared a TikTok of someone going that, I've been living in the UK for 14 years, and I want to desperately get citizenship, but I can't get citizenship because you have to, if you miss one of the tea alarms, you have to it resets, so it's like you've just arrived yesterday. So I even seen people going, oh yeah, I administer this British citizenship test. The key thing is, how do you respond to the daily tea alarm? Just like all of that, absolutely hilarious that this is such a recent part of British culture. I think that's good. Part of me is wishing that I had got in touch with LaserShrinkRay, the person behind it, and said, "Could you do kits for me that are 60 with the 60 centimeter wires for all of the lamps?" And it did not occur to me, because this process just is one weird idea after another that has been going on for 2 years in a very, very disorganized way, because I'm not a model maker, just a person who wanted to build a Moomin house. Okay. Right, I was also watching, this is just an opportunity to babble, I was also watching, got into watching videos again. I wrote a post about, you know, why we might be doing the, you know, this intense reading, watching all of this sort of chaos happening at once, why we're kind of getting into... Oh, hello, new follower. Welcome. Just watch me babble on. I was just talking about what I was... I wrote a thing about hypernormalization, and there's part of me that says, oh yeah, I should really turn that into a video essay and write about hypernormalization, which is a term coined by the anthropologist Alexei Yerchak, who studied the social environment of, you know, everyday people coping with the collapse of Soviet Russia. And they did the same thing. So there's this intense desire for reading material, reading stories. Perestroika, Glasnost brought more material into the everyday life. All things that had been previously banned were now available to read. People were reading stories, they were reading interpretations of the social world that they had seen as, you know, lived with for so long. And they had lived with a culture that you are going to recognize when I kind of describe it, particularly in the last couple of months, where as there was an official way of saying everything, even if it veered. Yes, I'm building a Moomin house. You can see it on the little picture there for the Moomins, little finished trolls. I should be talking about finished trolls, I suppose, but for the moment we are talking about hypernormalization. And I got really so I'm particularly fascinated by that as the collapse of this culture, this ideology, and what it meant for the people who lived through that time. Right, so we are gonna, what I'm doing is I am adding lights to my house. So the tricky bit that I'm going to come down to on the next level, once I put the ground floor interior wallpaper in, this is going to start getting tricky, because I'm going to have to figure out where the wires go so that they don't accidentally go around the door. By then I will have 4 wires on each and it's going to be easy on one side, not easy on the other. So I will put that down just hold it till it dries just a little bit. Indy has gone. She's gone somewhere. Thank goodness. She's gone off to entertain herself somewhere else. I read a really interesting post today. So I can get back on topic and talk about hypernormalization another day. I read a really interesting piece just today in a Finnish online magazine. It was a roundup of the week, and it was a short piece by somebody talking about how the Moomins have become highly commercialized, and literally everything is Moomins, 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 Moomins. If you live in Finland, it's wall-to-wall Moomins. And the writer was talking about how she had sort of Moomin branded everything for her kids. But when the kids were old enough, you know, Moomin nappies and Moomin diapers and Moomin biscuits, Moomin everything. And when she came to introduce her kids, the kids were old enough for the books, they didn't want to read them. They didn't like the Moomins. They liked the harmless house hippo variety of Moomin. They did not like the Moomin stories themselves. The ones by Tove Jansson were really quite dark and dealt with quite dark, quite intense themes. Later on, I'm going to try and keep doing this work on video, making videos of it. One of the stories that I will have to do in depth and do a deep dive because I've got the materials to build the bathhouse, is to tell the story of the Moomins in midwinter, because that's a really interesting story. It's a story about loneliness and coping with isolation and the cold. And I think that's it's a standout example of Tove dealing with really difficult topics. The author of the article that I was reading was really concerned that the sort of the hyper commercialization of the Moomins, the concern is that it's losing touch with what Tove and Jansson intended for the stories to be. She began writing the stories in 1939 to help her process the wars, the struggle, the multiple conflicts that Finland were facing, the familial issues that it raised when they were, stuck between Russia and Nazi Germany, and how difficult that was to survive as a person. She found that was really helpful, but the stories really reflect her struggle and the difficulty of living through those times. The first book, The Moomins and the Great Flood, is a story about refugees. It's a story about what it is to be a refugee and trying to find a home, a safe place to be in the middle of a crisis. And it's actually an environmental crisis. It's very prescient in that way. As they start off in a dark forest, and they end up in a flood, and the Moomin Valley is a very fragile environment, and it frequently experiences catastrophes. So it's interesting to think about whether you could look at it in some senses as climate fiction. I think wasn't her original intention, but it can be viewed in that way without her actually talking about environmental collapse. She is talking about the fragility of the physical environment and how fragile we are as peoples living in that environment. So there is a read there. What I'm doing now is I'm trying to make the wires sit sort of between the door and the, oh, there's a blob of glue all over the place. Sit between the door and the window. Oh, I can get them down. Of course, the big test is going to be when I put them, when I connect them up. And we find out whether the whole idea has paid off and worked, or if I have failed in my ambition. It's very hard to put glue in whilst you're dealing with all of these like twangy LED lights. So this is also going to take a hell of a lot of glue and a lot of time. I may have to do this in a series of sequences. I have to make sure that I spread the glue as much as I can, because sometimes these things jump out. Okay, so test. We have glue slightly holding the wiring. I've got 4 lights on each side. My back is reminding me that I need to be careful how I stand. Right, here we go. Okay, let's see. Let's put that in. Now check that the wires are out. Give my back a break. Doing things like this, it's very strange when you're doing things, and this is the reason why I've been so fascinated in reading about surviving 1980s and 1990s Russia. Is I'm less interested in, you know, the big movements. They are on this date they rolled tanks into here, on, you know, on this date this was happening, this is what the gangs did, how they were. I'm interested in, if you were just an everyday person, how did you get up in the morning, you know, because the thing that I think people have been facing, and something that I've been facing, and I see a lot of this online, is all of this chaos is happening and it unfolds every day and it's frightening, and yet you still have to get up and brush your teeth and go to work. You know, you still got to vacuum the carpets. You still have to cook meals and eat food. And that is this tension, this between the normal everything is okay in your immediate environment, but everything in the larger environment is in chaos. And we'll say that it's not as though I can shut off, because I'm actually at the front end of that right now. Is I am getting up every day and I am trying to survive in this environment. Not in a I'm in a secure position, but I'm trying to get a job, I'm not earning enough money, all of these tensions and issues that I have to kind of fight with. Let's see if that has settled down. Okay, now I'm going to stop my meandering chit chat. We are going to do a little bit of electronics. I'm going to pretend I can do electronics for a little bit. I really like the way that LaserShrinkRay has put this together. It is a little bit tricky. She does have a nice device for sort of helping you put the lights in. Now, I believe, if I remember correctly from her instructions, and I have tested these lights a few times, I might send the video to her. She'll probably be bored of me rabbiting on about the ongoing apocalypse, the horrors, as we have been calling it. But she can see what I have been doing with her very clever devices, which allow me to take the wires in and out, so I will be able to operate this dynamically. We'll be able to disconnect it fairly easily. That's the only difficulty, is that every time I take the better way to do this, so let's try doing this slightly differently. So I have 4 lights. Thinking about it, James C. Picard is going, that's Jean-Luc Picard going, there are 4 lights. 4 lights. That is, we have blue connectors and we have red connectors. The blues will take 2, the red take 1. I wish I had another pair of hands. So doing that like that, okay. That's quite tight on that side. Let's take the 4th light. I can always get more of these if I need them. Uh-oh, I hear a cat. So I may need to have 2, so we'll run that off, run one set off that way. And each of the red ones goes in separately. So this is so tricky, and I can't set the video up, unfortunately, so that you can easily see what I'm doing, but thankfully this has been designed for people who are not electronics geniuses, who are not, I don't know, do they charter electricians? Belong to a specific body. I was in a relationship with an electrics electrical engineer for a while. Let's see. Breathe through the struggle. Will this work? Now we have fourth light. So that's 3. Right. That has wired that up, and that tells me that that is going to be quite close. Breathe. Oh, goodness me. Just as I'm doing that, I get some kind of a bot. Don't think I can block. I can only report. Oh, goodness me. Oh well, that's just going to have to live there. I'll probably do it if I'm on the other, if I'm actually on YouTube. So, next stage. Is we plug in, prop that on a thing. You would not believe what is going on off camera. We have bright lights at the top. We have very, very good lighting at the top. We have much more subtle lighting at the bottom. So, wow. Okay. So now, I am going to, let's unplug that. I'm really glad that the lights have somewhat worked. They work better down on the top floor than the bottom floor. So let's remove that and see what happens. I shall just move the camera so you can see. Hello, you're back. Yes. And what did you find when you were there? Did you? I find it helps to chat to your cat. Take them seriously about their endeavours. Okay. Now, wiring is quite, it's going to sit, it's going to be a little bit tricky. I have lots of ticks when so I know. I think the best way to do this is take this off. Move this up. Hello, sweetheart. How are you doing? I'm gonna take a drink. I can't waste my Horlicks. What did you find when you were outside? Did you find something good? Okay. You're going to make trouble? I thought so. Yeah, you're going to get glue on your paws. That's almost cold, just bearable. Right, let's see what happens if I set up the camera to point at the Moomin House. This is a Indy. I love. Yeah. Oh, my darling. Hello. I know. It's not Daddy, is it? Daddy. Daddy's going to be back. He's going to be back on Monday. Okay. Okay. Let's see what happens when I plug this in. This is not ideal. I'd like to have all. Yeah, I know, Indy. I am not the world's greatest YouTuber by a very long margin. Yes. Oh my god. Oh, it works on the top. Okay. So we do have light happening down below, but it's much more subtle. So that, oh my god, that's just okay. Right, so we also have, so let's light this up. Let's switch this on just to ambiance. Let's put that on there. And although these wires are going to stick out a bit, I have one of those showing that I'm going to have to pull these wires out. And this is going to take a second to do. As you saw, it was quite tricky, but see if I can add, this is all spontaneous. I'm really pleased with this. I wish that the bathroom lights were a little bit stronger. But we do have a third bathroom light. So if I can just... don't think I'm going to be able to get these to stretch in. I was hoping that I would. It's all me operating. Yes, I know. The terrible difficulties that you face in your life, Indy, that remain unresolved. Such as, why can't you have treats 13 times a day? So I have one blue connector. So I've got the blue. Yes. This is not going to be a system that I light up all the time. You're going to be like, oh yes, let's see the Moomin House. Now that you finished it, let's see the Moomin House lit up. And I'm like, yeah, give me 3 hours. Twanged somewhere. So we now have 3 lights in the bathroom, 1 light and 2 lights, 1 light in the everything is, you see, this is why you study materials. Agency, things that do not wish to obey you when you need them to. So it looks like the white light's not as, is a little bit too subtle for Moomin House magic. We've got 3 lights. So you can't see the bathroom so well. But the bathroom is lit up. One of the lights has gone out. Looks like we might have a problem. Might not work, or it might have come out. So I am going to have to do some more investigation into that. But that was a first go. Yes, indeed. At putting lights into the walls, external walls of the Moomin House, and that did not disappoint. Although it's going to be tricky. Oh, she's mad now. She is not impressed with my Moomin House work, obviously. But yeah, we have a lit Moomin House. I just should have taken a photograph of it while I had it set up. That's it. I'm going to leave it there because that took quite a lot of time, but that has given me more of a sense of how long it's going to take me to do the other lights in the house and what the difficulties are. So that's brilliant. Thank you very much for watching. If you're watching this on YouTube, if you were here at any point during the live stream, thank you very much. Yeah, made some significant progress today and I'm really, really pleased. Thank you very much and goodbye.